Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1970s.
I've decided to end the world. They all have to go.
This is episode 222, recorded August 14th, 2024.
Gruesome Magazine.
I am your host, Doc Rodden, and this podcast about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode, my co-host and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, and influential decade. With me this week is the co-host of the most, is Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I'm here.
Yes.
Good to be here. I love talking with you guys. So let's.
Are those French fries on your hat?
Yeah.
No, those are.
It does look like you got that.
It's actually it's a.
You smell good.
Okay.
Were you on fries today?
You brought it up. The first black football player at Iowa State University was a guy named Jack Trice. It was around 1920, and he died from injuries he received in a football game against the University of Minnesota. And it might have been his first game. I'm not sure. Oh. And he wrote himself a note about being, an example for his race and his team and blah, 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 to himself. And so now the football stadium is named Jack Trice Stadium. These 5 bars here were on the front of the football jersey. So it's like a tribute to him. They got a statue of him on campus, and the football players touch it when they go by and all that stuff.
I was listening to this story and like, where does this tie into the fries on his hat? But
I know. All right. Also joining us tonight is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, and all around nice guy, and published author. I have to say it quick now. And this book is called
Rum.
And where do you get rum?
You get it by going to conventions where Falstaff books are there, or you could just go to Amazon.com. Ask for it by name.
There you go.
And I just had my first day back to school today with the kids, a new batch of youngsters. I believe the children are the future.
Don't scare us like that. Don't scare us like that.
Nah,
also,
these seem like a bunch of cool kids. So.
Oh, nice. You didn't say that before. No, you did. Also joining us tonight is Sir Chad Hunt, comic book artist and co-host of Decades of Horror, the classic era and the 80s, and also an all-around nice guy. Matter of fact, it's a whole gaggle of all-around nice guys, except me. Yeah. Chad, how are you doing, sir?
That's what happens when your name's Rotten.
There you go.
I'm good. I'm a little tired. We shot on set all weekend, so I'm not used to all that exercise of just standing around all day.
Cool. What are you shooting?
But we are working on a feature film called Seer of Souls.
Seer.
Yeah. And it's taken us a while to get it done because we had some issues with actors, quitting and that kind of thing. So we had to recast and then reshoot.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
one day you and I will sit across a table and with a beer and pizza and share some of these stories.
Yeah, we will have to do that. Hopefully this weekend.
All right. The role of Bob will now be played by. All right, Chad, I'm glad you're here, so I'm glad you're holding up. We are going to be talking about the 1979 film Nightwing tonight. Eco horror, Jaws influenced, David Warner. That's all you need to know. We'll get to that very soon. But before we do, Jeff, sir, do you have any news about the Play Now Media?
Well, yeah, we are partnering with Play Now Media on several of their channels, and in particular, Decades of Horror of the 1970s is on the Wicked Horror TV channel. You should check them out. They got a lot of nice movies. So you could pay for a subscription and watch everything they have without commercials, or you can just subscribe without paying, and you'll get ads and you won't be able to see some of the premium content. But all of our video DOH episodes are on Wicked Horror TV. The classic era is on a couple other ones, classic sci-fi. and Classic Horror Movie Channel. But I'm telling you, go to playnowmedia.com, check out all other channels. If you don't see something there, you're going, oh my God, where has this been?
There are a couple on there that are nowhere else to be found, and I like that.
I know last time I talked to him, he's working on a cryptid channel. So
cryptid. Oh, interesting.
Probably stuff like horror, the Loch Ness horror. And,
there you go. Bigfoot rises. Bigfoot steals my pizza.
Don't fail me now.
Don't fail, Big Feet. Don't fail me now. Yeah. All right. I like that one. That's not quite the cryptid thing, but we'll go with it anyway. What we're going to do tonight is discuss this film. We'll start off giving you our remembrance of when we first saw the film, what we thought of it, does it hold up today, all the spiel. Then we'll get into talking about the film, the actors, the locations, all kinds of craziness, and then we'll wrap up the podcast tonight with some feedback. Yes, Jeff?
Yes.
All right.
We have some feedback. People are falling down a little bit, you know.
Bring us the feedback. Much. Bring the feedback. It is summer. People are out and about. So.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
All right. Before we get too far in this, I just want to remind everybody that on on a Patreon exclusive, we are covering Kolchak the Night Stalker. We are doing all 28 episodes. We are, 9 episodes in? 9 episodes in.
20 episodes, so unless we make them up, which we could do.
We could. Nobody would know.
Say 28.
Did I say 28? That's awesome. But please join us there. Again, it's a Patreon exclusive. All right, let's get into the card and get things going here, and then have a lot of fun. All right, Nightwing, 1979. Great
Grandma.
Pick. Great pick choice. If you recognize that guy, yes, that's he's also from Prophecy, the 1979 bear horror film.
His name is George Klutzy or Klutesi.
That's absolutely right.
And he won some award for advancing the culture of Native Americans in Canada.
Perfect. It's directed by Arthur Hiller. The casting it was written by, Stephen Shagan, Bud Shrake, and Martin Cruz Smith, based on the 1977 novel by Martin Cruz Smith. Interesting. The cast includes Nick Mancuso, David Warner, Catherine Harold, Stephen Mock, Strother Martin, and many others that we'll get to. The production company is Pollock International BV. The distributor is Columbia Pictures. The filming locations are New Mexico, Nevada, Burbank Studios, California, Texas, all in the U.S. Filming dates are April 19th through June 1978. Release date is June 22nd, 1979. The budget was $5.5 million, and its box office was 9.9. Synopsis is simple. Killer bats plague an Indian reservation in New Mexico. It's pretty much straightforward. It's straightforward, and that's what it is. All right. There you go. Let's get into this. We're going to start off with the one and only Chad Hunt. Chad, when did you first see this film? What was your first impression? Does it hold up today?
I read the book at first.
You read the book?
I read the book first, and I was in love with the book. I loved it. So I missed it in the theaters. So I caught it when it finally came around to HBO or one of those body odor channels, and I watched it there, and I loved it so much. I watched it every time it came on HBO. I think you remember the little HBO pamphlet you used to get.
Yes, the little it was a little square thing. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yep, went through that like I went through the TV guide and just
Did you highlight.
Yep, every time it came on, I watched it. I love this movie, and it's a little different from the book, but from what I remember, it's been a long time since I read it, but I remember the movie being different from the book a bit. You can't go wrong with this cast. I love the cast. I mean, you had Strother Martin, you had David Warner, Nick Mancuso, was it Catherine Hammond? Was that her name?
Harold.
Just a great cast, and to make these bats come to life. I've never been a fan of Carlo Rambaldi, his work. For some reason, he's competent in everything. He's just not one of my favorite special effects guys. But the bats I found very effective and very scary in some places when I saw it. They moved a little bit more naturally than the bats we're used to seeing, with just the floppy wings bobbing around on a string.
The hammer bats
in the hammer films, yeah. So that was a little bit more exciting when they would swarm and attack people. So yeah, I loved all the mysticism that's in it, because it never really told you if it was real mysticism or the old man just knew there were a bunch of bats in there and he was going to set them loose and kill as many people as possible. But yeah, but it's still a favorite. It's one of my favorite Jaws ripoffs ever, you know. And I still love a lot. It still holds up to me in a lot of ways, and I still enjoy watching it. I had a good time watching it this time.
Excellent. I appreciate that greatly, Chad Hunt. Bill Mulligan, sir, when did you first see this film? What was your first impression? Does it hold up today?
Oh, I just saw it last week, so it holds up fine. Time has not diminished its charms. This one just slipped through the cracks for me. I think I always kept getting it mixed up with Chosen Survivors or whatever. And I don't find bats particularly scary, so that it probably just did not make the radar. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was just fine. A good cast. The romance actually seemed, they had good chemistry. The characters had good chemistry together. So that was, I cared about the folks. The bat effects were fine, certainly better than Hammer. And I love all those Hammer movies, despite their dodgy bats. So these look just dandy. David Warner was always fun playing sort of the Quint character here, and I was shocked that they let him survive, because usually that character's one of the first to go.
They almost didn't. It was close.
Almost.
It was close.
I was pretty sure. I was watching. It's like, well, here's where he goes, and he didn't. I do wish I would have liked to have made it. Had it made clear, was this mysticism? Was there any supernatural elements? It seems awfully coincidental that crazy, your crazy Indian uncle starts chanting and making things and doing spells just at the same time a bunch of bats start actually causing all kinds of mischief. Again, maybe he did know there were bats there and this was just his one thing on the way out, but I would have liked to have, seen a little bit more. It's definitely better than Prophecy. It's got a lot in common with Prophecy. But on the other hand, now that I'm saying that out loud and I hear the words coming out of my mouth, Prophecy is a lot of fun because it's just so bad and has so many memory. There's nothing in here 1/10 as memorable as the kid in the sleeping bag. That lingers in the brain. So I'm really glad you picked this. It's one I hadn't seen. I can see why a lot of our we've heard from some of our fans that they were glad that we picked it, and I can see why. This is a fun little film that has not gotten its I think proper recognition.
Yeah, but to be honest, you could also see why it was picked as the worst film of 1979 by what was the craziness that it was called, Jeff? It was something crazy.
Was it the Razzies or?
Well, it was predates the Razzies.
I don't know.
I guarantee 1979 had a bunch of movies worse than this one.
Oh, that's what I was thinking.
I mean, come on. This is maybe the worst movie of 1979 directed by a famous director. Okay.
There you go. Well, I don't know. Prophecy is a famous director too. It's the Hastings Bad Cinema Society's second Stinkers Bad Movie Awards in 1979. I don't think it deserves that.
No, that's not fair.
It was considered a failure, but I think it might be a sign of the times, not the film's fault. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that soon, right?
Yeah.
Right. Jeff, when did you first see Nightwing? What was your first impression? Does it hold up today?
I saw this, so Chad brought it up. But here's the paperback.
Oh wow, look at that.
This I think is like 4th edition or
Nice.
something. This was released as a
Author of Gorky Park.
promotional, to play off of the success of Gorky Park. Martin Cruz Smith wrote a series of like 8 or 9 books on, I forget the guy's name, Arcady something or another. I know Lee Marvin was in the movie. I can't remember who else was in it. Anyway, so I read the book. I went to the movie, and I was disappointed with the movie. At that time, I was all fired up about the book. You know, it was too fresh. And so now seeing it now, it's much better than what I remembered. So I'm with some of the people that were excited about it. So, you know, it's got a great cast. Nick Mancuso wasn't, you know, super well known at the time, but I think he does a pretty good job. Unfortunately, this is you know, if they remade this movie, they would use, you know, indigenous people for a lot of these roles, which they don't do. But at least we have Abner and a couple of the other characters. So, and Catherine Harold was pretty new. I think this might have been her first movie. But Strother Martin, you know, he just chews up the scenery as he slowly walks around his store.
Oh, so sweaty. Oh my God.
It's so good. And I don't know what else. And David Warner. David Warner's excellent as this, as sort of a grouchy, mission-focused vampire bat killer. You know, not quite Van Helsing, but he's kind of there. That's his sole purpose.
It is kind of close, isn't it? Yeah.
Killing vampire bats
for free.
Yeah, because a lot of times he just leaves the word bat out of the equation. He just calls them vampires.
And they go really big on the ending, and they kind of pull it off. You know, this some crazy stuff that happens there.
A little peyote action going on, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm with Chad though too. I think Carlo Rambaldi, they said he chewed up a bunch of the budget to make mechanical bats, and which almost none of those shots got used because they were so bad. So, but the shots they do have of bats are pretty good, and the stuff that they put in that's artificial is or special effects isn't nearly as bad as you guys already said, as Universal or Hammer.
Yeah.
Well, they look effective, like when they're crawling around on people, like when they come up out like a shirt, or when they're flying around. You know, there's some good stuff.
Well, because they used actual footage of a big bat colony in a cave.
Yes, there was. Yes.
So check it out. I'm surprised it's not available. There's not a good. I know you thought I was done. There's not a good. There's only one Blu-ray that I can find out there that's mixed with what is the name of that movie? The Jan Michael Vincent, Spirit of the Hawk, or something like that.
Really?
White Line Fever. No,
it's got 2 of them on there. I thought about getting it, but I couldn't. I couldn't tell what the extras were, and I guess if you bought the British version from Eureka, there was a fair amount of extras on that. So I don't know, but I didn't. So I watched it on YouTube, which is a pretty good resolution for
it was.
It actually looked really good. I was surprised how good it looked, and served it up right. Yeah. What happened?
I'm done.
Okay. You all right?
I'm just going to keep myself from going. And another thing.
All right.
So eating some of that datura root or whatever.
Well, it was peyote, right? Wasn't it peyote?
I think it's called datura. They called it datura root, and which is sort of like a nightshade. It's not a nightshade.
Gave him a little bit of a hallucinogen.
He was pounding that stuff down in the cave.
And he gave it to Dave Warner. He was happy after that, still in pain, but happy. Anyway, this movie has a very special place because it also signifies a very special time in my life, and a very embarrassing event as well, which I'm going to share with you now. And then I'll talk about Dave Warner for a second. But I was very excited to see this movie because I thought it looked great. How old were we? Like 14 or 15, 14 years old. And it actually played in the theater that was walking distance from me. There was a theater like in the shopping center, just less than a mile from the house. And that was great because then I could just, me and a couple friends, we went up and we watched the movie. It was PG, didn't have to take our parents, right? It was fantastic. We had a great time. Love the film because of, there's mainly because of one particular scene that involved bats attacking these people at a campsite, but we'll talk about that in a second, which is totally ridiculous and feels almost like it was shot by somebody else. I would say that scene itself feels more akin to everything in Prophecy than the rest of the movie does, but we'll get to that. But what happened was when we walked out of that movie, the theater had two theaters in it, and across the hall was Alien was still playing. So for the first and only time in my life, I decided to let's sneak into the movie. Wow. So it was just getting ready to start. People were walking in, we were walking out. We just slid right in line and went right on in and sat down and started watching Alien. I'd already seen it, and we were having a great time until the usher starts coming down the hall with a flashlight and finds us and pulls us out. And standing beside the usher was my mother.
Oh, this was the movie. Okay.
Oh no!
So my mother, realizing I hadn't come home, but of course in the 70s, I don't know if you remember, it was like, get out of the house, don't come home until it's dinner time.
Yeah,
sure.
But she was worried something happened because I told her we were going up to the theater and I didn't come back. And she came up to the theater, and I don't know, somehow she figured out we had gone in to see Alien. She, I don't know, knew me better than I did. And by golly, that was the most embarrassing moment in my little young history. But I'll never forget it because it just cements that film, Nightwing, in my brain for it. But I absolutely loved it. And Chad, yes, I watched it probably a couple more times when it was on HBO. Always did, right?
Yeah.
And it also was one of the first films. Now, yes, I'd seen Omen. We talked about this last episode when we were previewing that we were going to do this. I didn't know, when I saw Omen, I didn't know who actors really were outside of maybe the leads, right? So David Warner I didn't know who David Warner was. But with this movie, combined with Time After Time, same year, right? In the same year? It is the same year, right?
79.
I became a huge fan of David Warner because of this film. And Time After Time.
The Omen was earlier. The
Omen was much earlier. It was like 75 or 4 or
so what was the same year? I'm sorry.
Time After Time, where he played Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, great.
And Malcolm McDowell played H.G. Wells, right?
Yeah.
Do I have the right one?
Was it Mike? Yeah. Was it
it was the guy. It was the guy from
Nicholas.
Malcolm McDowell. But anyway. Regardless, we'll talk about that film someday. We have to get that on the agenda. But so anyway, that's my story. I loved it then. I've enjoyed it. It's always had a special place, but I've never really revisited since probably, the early 80s when it played, right? And it was never around. It never came back. You never saw it again. But I always knew about it. And so we did. I finally rewatched it for this. And I think what I said pre-show is that it was everything I remembered, a little bit more and a little bit less all at once. Right? Because some of the scenes that I remember being real intense weren't quite as intense as they were now, but it still was a great experience. It's a very straightforward film. It's an easy watch. It story wise, it has a lot going on. There's a lot to it. It's not as bat heavy as you want it to be, right? The bats really don't play as big a part of the film as some of the until the very end. Until it's more about there's some reservation politics going on. There's some wanting to get oil out of these caves and stuff, and all this other
attack out in the middle of the desert when the Quakers are out and about.
Yes, that's the scene that I was talking about. That feels very out of thing. But so other than that, the other bat kills are lickety split, right? And there's a lot of time spending between our characters. You get a lot of character development, and it's actually those elements are the better elements than when I saw it in 79.
Yeah.
They hold up so well. You really, I really care for these characters. I really liked it. I liked the relationship. I liked the David Warner character comes off as being a bad guy at first, but yet turns into a good guy. So there's a lot of really interesting things going on. I thought the bats held up really well, even though some of them, there were some scenes where they were a little sketch. But most of the time, there's one scene where there's like a couple dozen of them coming at the screen when they're in their wire cage, right? They're in the wire cage. I forgot all about the wire cage. What a great scene. And really, really enjoyed it. I know it's a stinker. It failed. Yeah. It didn't have big reviews, and it was the worst picture at the Hastings Bat Cinema thingy. But I don't know. I have a special place for this, and I think it holds up. And yay, go team!
Absolutely.
I don't want to oversell it, but I liked
it. And just because somebody said it was a stinker doesn't make it a stinker. I actually like the movie. I like the story. I like the acting. I like everything about it. I mean, it's like sitting there. It's like somebody saying Jaws is, shark harasses fishermen.
Well, if you look at it
like that,
right, shark harasses fishermen. Yeah. But if you look at it in context of what's out at that time, because Alien just came out. Alien is like kicking ass. Everybody's talking about Alien. Alien is it's the buzzword, right? Yeah. It literally came out just a few weeks before this did. So when you have that and then this follows up, it's not a good follow-up to Alien.
Right.
So if you're, you just got one of the greatest monster movies of all time, and then you go see this, which in comparison gets the reaction that you got.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see that.
I think an awful lot of it though was the director. People, this is a guy who was well respected in Hollywood. Here he's doing a horror movie. Okay.
But is he treating it like a horror film? He's treating it like he isn't, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a bad job. I just think that the knives were out. This is almost like they punish anyone for slumming in the horror genre, which was considered, and this was beginning to change thanks to Jaws and Alien and things like that.
Omen and
this was not considered a place. This is for young up and coming directors to learn their craft before they start making artsy films. But Hiller was someone who was making very well written, well regarded artsy films that won Academy Awards and got people nominations. And, I think if anyone else had made this movie, it would not have been the stinker of the year.
Yeah. Well, it really focuses on the characters, though. That's what confuses me about, and because it does that, it's sort of a step above your average horror movie or average, animals run amok movie. I mean, like Doc brought out earlier, you really get to care about these characters and the relationship that what was his name, Duran had with his uncle, and even though the guy died 10 minutes into the movie, you still could feel the effects of that relationship with him and how it forced his character moved along because of that. And it was just great. I thought it was just a movie with great characters in it. But yeah, the bats were there, but the bats weren't really featured like as much as you'd think in a movie about killer bats.
Yeah, I mean, nowhere near as much as like the shark is in Jaws, even though the shark in Jaws really isn't featured that much, right?
Yeah.
It's featured even more. But Stephen Mach, M-A-C-H-K, is a really good bad guy. I mean, because his motivation is right on the sleeve. We know exactly what he's about. He's not really a bad guy, right? He's just trying to get this oil. Right. He has a motive that and he's trying to get permission to go get the oil, and he needs to get the permission from the tribe that our sheriff, our lead, is a part of, Duran. and so it all makes sense, right? And he's introduced in a really cool way when the lands with the helicopters at the where the horse was killed, right? It was a horse. Was it a cow or a horse? It was a horse, right? Was it a cow?
There was horses laying there.
It was horse.
Oh, I thought it was
horse. I wasn't sure. All of a sudden, I second guessed myself. But when he comes in with the his own thing, and because the guy that owned the place called them, and so you get that conflict right away. You understand it. It's clear, and it's not necessarily the reservation versus the white man in this case, right? It's kept within themselves, within.
Yeah.
Although there is some of that in the story because of the oil guy, but who's a secondary bad guy, but not really, right? He's kind of just there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of really interesting things going on here. I'll just shut up. We'll keep moving on.
Stephen mocked every time I see him, I'm always reminded of the $6 Million Man Bigfoot episodes because he was sort of the Native American liaison to the army or something in both of those episodes.
Yeah. And he's not indigenous, right?
I'm not sure. Not
because
the name Mock, I'm not. It doesn't sound.
And Nick Mancuso, he's not indigenous either, right?
He's Italian.
He's Italian.
Now most of the other indigenous casts are, all the leaders of the reservation and stuff, and the ones that are down in the one thing that really scared me as a kid was when he goes down into I don't know what it is, where they go down and the elders go down and kind of do whatever they do. It was like a little hole in the ground that they go and hide in for a little bit.
Oh.
And our sheriff goes in there and they're all dead.
Yeah.
For some reason that scared me. It's not scary at all. It's not scary at all. But as a kid, I was like,
oh, I thought it was kind of creepy.
Yeah. No, that's good. Good. I feel better now.
He is of Russian Jewish descent.
But that was commonplace, right, at that point. So
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now it would be frowned upon a lot of times.
Hollywood used everyone to play Indians except actual Indians. I mean, you see Boris Karloff as, Geronimo and Noble Johnson, lots of Jewish guys, lots of Italians. I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, even Johnny Depp played Tonto in the Lone Ranger remake recently. So it's only recently in the past decade or so that which
reminds me that the Lone Ranger TV show was actually ahead of its time.
That's true because
Jay Silverheels.
Very good. And I probably didn't know who Strother Martin was back then, although I would know soon, or maybe I did. But Strother Martin is a day player in this. Really, he's got
severely criminally underused in this.
Criminally underused.
Yeah.
Really.
Definitely commands the scene when he shows up. I mean,
he does. He takes over, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Trying to pawn his daughter off on.
and his stuff. He's another one of those actors who makes it feel like all his lines are improvised. Yeah. And I suspect they were not, but he gives that kind of reading where suddenly you're looking at someone who really is a master of the craft.
Yeah, and we'll get to it here shortly. But there's a couple of supporting cast members that are very familiar now after this, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But before we do,
dun, da, da, da.
And before we get to all our posters, I think there's something that happens, Jeff.
What could it be?
There is, and that means it's actually time for Taglines with Chad.
Hooray!
Today, Chad is played by Chad Olson.
Okay, the taglines for Nightwing are as follows. In the dead of the night they come, swift, silent, and savage.
Okay, yeah, not bad. At least they didn't say silent and deadly, because then I would have giggled.
No, I just did.
Okay, I just got it. The day belongs to man. The night is theirs.
So far, these are pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you fear most? The dark or something that waits in the dark?
Yes.
Pretty
The
much.
last
both.
one.
Yeah.
The last one. Yeah.
Embrace the power of and.
The bats of hell let loose upon the earth.
Okay, that's stupid.
It's a little overzealous.
Hell bats.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't mention vampire bats in this. Yeah, but anyway.
And that's been Taglines with Chad.
Chad's our hero, cool and rad. With him reading taglines, they can't be that bad.
She's a genius for coming up with something that rhymes with Chad.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Making it fit the song.
Yes, absolutely. This is the poster that I remember where they have the mountains and the little things to make it look like a bat.
That's
Oh,
the
gee, I never
cover.
noticed that until just now. Yeah, that's like a giant bat.
What?
Above Nightwing, though, there's two little
The little
spikes to make
ears.
it look like a bat. Yep.
Oh,
it's
I
like-
never
yeah.
noticed it either. I'm just.
Oh, there you
I'm
go.
Like going. What a
What?
stupid poster! There's not even any bats on it.
The whole
That was the
bottom
cover.
third is a bat,
The
or
cover
at
of
least
the
representing a bat.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Good catch.
This is a fun one. It feels very drawn back to like the 60s or 70s Hammer
Yeah.
film.
It's the
Well,
Italian poster.
Yeah, Italian.
Exactly. And it is the Italian poster.
Oh, there you go. And those bats look like the rubber bats in the Hammer film.
Yeah.
Right.
But those are the bats that, well, anyway, when you
And
think,
Catherine Harold wears nothing even remotely similar to that.
no, nobody does.
And she does not wear red high heels when she's running around the desert either.
No, because she's
No.
a doctor. She's got more sense than that. I mean, come on.
I
If
do.
this is the Italian poster, why is it in English?
Well, okay. The Italian poster looks identical. And maybe I should bring this up now, but the also known as here, the Italian is Le ali della notte, the wings of the night.
Oh, that's actually
And there's a
Ooh.
poster that has that title across the bottom and has that exact same picture. So I don't really know where it came from, but I never saw this before. Before we watched this before. And I think I don't know if it's on the Blu-ray or not, but it is on a DVD cover.
Yeah. It is one that IMDb shows. That's the one they've chosen to.
Right. And in Mexico, it was known as Alas de Noche, Wings of Night. Pretty similar. And in Germany, my favorite,
The Fledermaus.
Schwingen der Angst.
Hassen
Careful.
Pfeffer Incorporated.
Careful when you do that. You might get.
Schwingen der Angst.
Don't swing that
Wings of
donks
Fear.
next to me.
Wings of Fear.
Wings of Fear.
Swinging the donks.
No.
Swing and a miss.
Anyway. All right. That's it. Just two posters.
That's
Yeah.
it.
All right.
One's
Everything
very
else was the
subtle and
same.
one is not. That's interesting.
Now, I'll tell you what, the paperback, I was trying to find the original cover of the paperback, and there's like a dozen different covers of this paperback. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
I was going to say the poster before this is the paperback I remember getting.
Well, that's probably the movie tie-in then, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know I always wonder what the original would have looked like when it came out in 77, which, by the way, was marketed to take advantage of the Jaws popularity.
Mhm.
Nature Gone Wild.
Nature Gone Wild. Well, there was a lot of films, and especially,
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, even the book.
by then you had Grizzly, you had Night of the Day of the Animals, all kinds of stuff. In addition
Well, and
to-
then in 1979 there was like 5 Dracula movies that came out.
That's right. And this does have a Dracula movie feel to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
kinda-
A vampire. Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about this director because what was it, Arthur Hiller, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Look at those films. Holy cow.
I
Talk
mean,
about
of
these
the
sometime.
3, The In-Laws is one of my favorite. The original In-Laws. That's a fun movie. Peter Falk and
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one with the crazy running.
yeah, Serpentine.
Serpentine.
Serpentine, yeah.
So his films tended to have big name actors. You could do comedy. I mean, good God, Love Story, which not one of my favorites, but you can't deny how successful it was. You couldn't get away from that damn thing for a while.
It was huge.
Very successful.
1970.
Silver Street.
Yeah, these were crowd pleasers.
He
so
was
this is not
nominated.
For him.
He was nominated for an Oscar for Love Story.
Hmm.
So, whoa, and he did win the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award in 2002.
Yeah.
Tell that to the Hastings Club, folks.
Yeah, Silver Streak itself was huge because didn't that establish them as a comedy team?
Yeah, Pryor and
Gene
Wilder.
Yep.
Author with Gino. Oh, that's not the one I thought. Al Pacino and Tuesday Weld and Diane Cannon. Yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, though. This guy didn't treat this like it was some little B movie film that he was directing. He directed it like it was a huge budget. I thought it felt like a big.
It felt
budget.
cinematic too, right? It felt cinematic.
Yeah.
Even though the landscapes help, right? Because right. So.
I'm talking about like the characters and the way the characters were treated and
right,
like a big budget film.
He also directed The Hospital with George C. Scott, Diana Rigg, and I saw another one right below. Oh, The Out of Towners. That's a one I remember seeing a lot about. Jack Lemmon and
I think that's a Neil Simon adaptation.
Sandy Dennis. Yeah. Yes.
That's the thing. I think his reputation was someone who did a good job with actors and got them hits. You know, and this was a time when this was, I think, more common than it is now. Actors, let's go see that new Peter Falk movie or something. I mean, that actors actually brought people in. Now that's not the case anymore. It's the story or whatever, and the actors can be more interchangeable.
Yeah, there's very few actors that hold that position nowadays.
Right.
There's not too many Tom Cruises or Brad Pitts or.
How many movies did Pryor and Wilde make together? Because he also directed See No Evil, Hear No Evil.
That's one.
Which had them both in it.
Stir Crazy, Silver Street.
I feel like 4 or 5. I don't know. I'm kind of curious.
I don't know if you there's a documentary on Gene Wilder out there right now that I recommend. It will make you cry, so be prepared. But the point is that that I'm making here is that it talks about the relationship he had with Richard Pryor, and it's really special to hear about that. And it's just a lot of times they use it in his own words from other interviews and stuff, and it's really interesting. But this guy helped him start all that.
All right, 4 movies together, and I froze myself trying to find out the answer.
No, you did. You did. You opened up a browser and froze me.
That's what happened.
Oh, we know the cause now. All right, that's the look of Bill for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
David Warner. Here he plays Phillip Payne, not P-A-I-N, but P-A-Y-N-E, who is prolific, to me, a legend. Not everybody knows his name, but you recognize him.
Oh, yeah.
If not from Titanic, dozens of other films. He almost played Freddy Krueger. Is probably a really fun thing to know about him. I couldn't imagine him playing Freddy Krueger for more than one film, but I think the first time he probably the first film I associate with him now is, of course, The Omen, but it's not his first film, is it?
No.
By a long shot, right? No, I mean, it's hard to look at all.
He started his first, that was uncredited. His first credit was, these are TVs. That's a short. And Tom Jones, 1963.
There you go.
He's not a physically imposing person, but he plays evil really well. It's interesting.
You got a slide of his movies, right?
I
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
it-
well, yeah, you do. But from Beyond the Grave, of course, is one that we covered.
Mm-hmm.
That
And
he was
Company
in.
of Wolves. I'm with
Company
you.
of Wolves.
Time after time we're playing, I'd pick it. I'm always looking to see if we can do it, but for whatever reason, a movie that good and that successful doesn't seem to be streaming very often.
Well, it is good but successful. It's successfully made, but I'm not sure it was actually a successful film.
Hmm.
Is that a Nicholas Meyer?
Yeah.
I mean,
He played evil in Time Bandits. Not an evil guy. He played evil.
Yeah.
Doctor.
Oh, that's right. He did. He played evil.
That's where our God, where has evil been? I haven't heard from him for a long time.
Yeah.
Of course, Tron.
Tron. Yes. I keep forgetting he was in Tron, but he's the big bad in that. He played the villain a lot. And that's one of the reasons he accepted this role, is because he was the good guy. And also he wanted to get to Hollywood. He was also in Concord in 1970. I'm going to bring up.
I've been waiting for you to bring that up.
Anybody that is in one of those disaster films, I'm going to do it. But Concord 1979. So in 1979, I saw him in Nightwing, Time After Time, and the Concord 1979.
And from that point on, he was fixed.
Yep, I knew who he was. Yeah, he's gosh, what don't you want to talk about? I mean, I could keep mentioning stuff over and over and over and over and over again, right?
He classes up whatever joint he walks into.
I think so.
He
was in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I'm skipping over story. He played he was in 3 episodes of Twin Peaks. That's fun. He was in Star Trek VI, playing a different person. There's one film I'm looking for, and I've missed it for whatever reason. But he was in The Mouth of Madness. Dr. Wren. Oh, wow. I forgot about that. Excellent. Of course, he's still, I don't know if he's still working, but he's got an incredible amount of, he passed away in 22. So no, he's not still working. Sorry. Titanic's the one a lot of people will remember. He was the, for lack of a better word, the henchman of our bad guy, right? He, one that's chasing our heroes around when after they make whoopee in the car, right? In the car that's in the old timey car.
Making whoopee.
They were making whoopee babies. But anyway, I mean, what else? Somebody else start talking about some of the stuff he did here.
I didn't realize he did 3 episodes of Twin Peaks.
Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what he was in that, though. He would fit in, and his role here is so weird because he's kind of hamming it up, but it doesn't feel that way because his character seems consistent. We're introduced to this guy; he's desecrating a corpse.
Yep.
And no shame of it at all. It's like, hey, you got to understand.
Well, he's eccentric, right? He's eccentric.
He's very eccentric. Well, he's English, so what are you going to
do? I love it.
And probably one of the most famous beheadings in cinema history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember because it seems to me like there was a interviewer we read about that when we did The Omen that he had the head.
You still
in
had
his
it?
possession for a long time, but then when he got divorced, his wife took it.
No.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I think it was something she wanted in the settlement because I probably
just to get at him. I think.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the pre-makeup tests for him as Freddy Krueger.
Yes,
and it's more of an old man makeup than anything else. But boy, did he look creepy in that makeup. Or it was a mask, I think, or a mold that they made of his face.
He was the drama teacher Gus Gold in Scream 2. I don't know if that matters, but he's in there.
And we lost him fairly recently, just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Let's move on.
A couple episodes of Star Trek Next Generation too. So not just maybe you already said that. But.
I said a couple of the movies, but I didn't say anything about that.
Yeah.
Nick Mancuso. I keep wanting to throw an S in there, but Nick Mancuso. Who other than this film, I probably couldn't tell you what else he was in, but he's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
157 credits.
He does a pretty good job. I didn't like him, like when he was wearing a hat. I thought the whole wig and it just looked stupid. But when he had like his hair done a little bit differently, it looked pretty good. I thought. I don't know why. That was my take on it. What do I know?
I thought his look worked pretty good for the time and everything. He passed. He did. I thought he did a great job in the role. You know,
he's a good hero.
Yeah,
right?
he made a good hero. One thing I did not know about him and reading about him and everything is he was voicing the character Billy in Black Christmas.
Good catch.
Back in '74. He
did the voice on the telephone in Black Christmas.
He's uncredited though, right? So he was in Death Ship in 1980, the George Kennedy obscure horror film.
Oh wow, real? Oh yeah, I saw that in the theater. It's pretty.
It's weird. It's strange, right?
It is.
That's the role he got for getting turned down for Indiana Jones.
So another reason why I think this film worked for me when I saw it is, as you guys know, I was a huge fan of the car.
Yeah.
Right. And this has landscapes that are very similar to that. So I don't know if that was still kind of in my brain. It was a couple of years later, but I don't know, the Arizona, Nevada landscape, I think works well for me.
You know, the cinematography on this is really good, I think.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the shots they have, those opening shots are just I guess you call those establishing shots. They just look marvelous.
Yeah, nowadays they do like crazy stuff when they do the opening credits. Then they just kind of zoom through the landscape, right, and show you different shots of.
Well, and I think it kind of ends with this guy standing out there on this peak or outcropping, and silhouetted by the sun, and you don't know who the heck is this. Well, you find out later
it's the uncle, right?
It's the uncle.
They circle that around to Abner at the end of the movie.
Speaking of Abner, another creepy scene that got me as a kid and didn't really play as well when I saw it this week was the blood coming out of because he wraps him up in like this tarp to bury him.
Yeah.
Out up in the mountains, and blood starts seeping through the fabric. It's interesting and it's effective, but it wasn't nearly as creepy now than it was when I saw it back in the day. For some reason, it just really creeped me out.
I read on vampire bats when I was a kid, and I think their saliva has some sort of paralyzing or numbing effect. So
they do. They do.
And so the blood turns to just water. So I always thought that's what it was. Is the wounds were just leaking that blood again.
Yeah, but he was mentioning that it was a symbol of something, because when he mentioned it to the elders when he was talking, not the ones that died, but the other ones that were giving him some grief, that ones that didn't like Abner.
Yeah.
Well, they're all afraid of Abner.
Sure.
I'd love that backstory. I wish Abner was a bigger part of the movie.
Yes. Yep. He was great. He had a great tone to him, when he tells him, that line that Chad read at the beginning that I'm going to have to end the world. Yeah. They're all going to have to die.
But what's interesting is he's also in. We'll get to it. I guess he's in here soon, but he's also in Prophecy. Also as an elder.
No, I don't think so.
He's not in Prophecy.
No, he's not in. You said we're going to get to it soon.
Oh, we don't have a
we don't have a card for it.
Okay, well, he's also in Prophecy while we're talking about him, and the scene that I remember that relates to this because of the ending of the movie is, you remember when he had the glasses on and he was looking at the camp when it was being destroyed, and you could see the fire in his glasses. Yeah, that just reminds me of the ending of this film so much. Those two shots. because at the end of this movie they set the whole cave on fire with all the bats, which really, it's, you can see what they're doing effects wise with the bats being on fire and everything, because they don't look entirely realistic, but yet it conveys enough of what they're trying to say that it makes it effective, I thought.
Me too. I thought it was it was a better ending than it would have been with poison gas, I think. So, you know, this is a little bit more visually appealing. But yeah, I thought that worked fine with me. I was like, cool.
And I love the part when he's all tripping out on what I thought was peyote, but you said it was something else, some root. And he's seeing Abner and all the people walking around still on the what do you call those things, Jeff?
Pueblos.
Pueblos, yes.
Well, there were cliff dwellings in some of the opening shots, which were they were dug back into the side of the cliff.
But this one is actually inside the cave for whatever reason.
Right.
But he's talking to Abner and Catherine Harold's character is like, "Who are you talking to?" I just love that because she's like so serious. Like, "Who are you talking to?" And she's holding all these rocks because he's trying to make a circle. She's like, "What the hell are you doing? We got to get out of here." I just thought that was so. It wasn't comical, but it kind of was, right?
Well, yeah, because you wanted him to hurry up and get on with what he was doing, and he's arguing with a ghost, his uncle Ghost there.
But there was something oddly effective about having all those people, appear, right?
Yeah.
And of course, they just did it with double exposure, right, Bill? That's how they handled that. So, but it was effective. It looked great.
It worked.
All right.
It's sort of the back of what it shows that everything his uncle taught him growing up. He was kind of seeing that right then.
I'm still trying to figure out if his uncle knew that and he was setting him up to save the day, or if he was actually trying to stop him from doing that. Because it plays both ways.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. He's screaming at him to not do that.
He kept saying, "Join me, just join me."
Right. Yeah. But at the same time,
don't close the circle. Don't close the circle. Yeah.
Right. But they do imply later that wasn't the case. It's really interesting. Yeah.
And everybody which in the end he did get everything he wanted. The mine.
That's right.
Closed down and used all these people to do it. So
yeah, the whole thing about it burning forever is a little. There
are these places where if you have oil in the ground, it catches on fire. It just isn't that like Centralia, these coal mines and things, they'll burn forever.
Yeah,
closest thing to hell on earth.
Yeah, isn't there one in New York that's been burning for centuries?
Yeah, there's a big pile of tires near Scranton, Pennsylvania that caught on fire. They can't put it
out. My goodness! Wow. All right. Well, let's talk about. Is this Catherine Harold? Yes.
Yeah.
Who I thought was really effective in this, and they presented her character with a lot of respect. Right? She wasn't, even though she was in trouble, she wasn't. They didn't fridge her. Right? That's what they say to.
And she wasn't just running around saying, "They're in my hair," which is what I kind of expected from something like this. I mean,
she's very proactive too, even after the attack, trying to help out with that nasty Quaker character that sacrificed. I thought she was his wife. He wouldn't even open the friggin' door for her.
No, he ran right over her. It was like what a great scene that was. But yeah, she saves herself as best she could. Even like when she says she's going fishing and she's fishing for a snake, which I thought was a great scene. When she made her. I mean, it was just they really showed her as a very intelligent, smart woman. And I like that because a lot of times they just are damsels in distress, and she was not that. Even though she was needing us out, but it was.
I mean, she set everything up to where it was easy for them to find her. Setting the car on fire so they'd see the smoke and all that was. She was, proactive in everything. She didn't just sit around waiting for somebody to come find her. She was doing things to help keep herself alive. And
Bill, I really paid attention to her makeup when they found her, because she looked dehydrated, but it was really just makeup on her lips to make it look dry, right? So and interface and the cut and everything, but
they did a good job. I mean, they never like to make a good looking woman look unattractive in these things, even when you're trying to establish that she's been dying of thirst and everything. I thought they did a pretty good job on this. I really liked her character. I think maybe the third act, when we lose some of that good characterization that was going on, they need the big climax and everything, and we got the electric cage and all. But no, I really liked the romance between these two. It was good. It was believable. They quickly established that she's a good person, likable person, but stuck on this reservation. Of course, she wants to go off to Boston or wherever the hell, and that was relatable. I haven't seen this other movie that she was in, The Sender, but
it felt authentic, right? It felt authentic.
It did.
Yeah. She was in a TV movie the same year called Vampire. I'm trying to think of what that is. With Jason Miller and is that Richard Lynch? Is that the one that's from the TV show they just made into a movie? I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, E.G. Marshall's in it. What is the deal with it? Interesting. Yeah, so she did that the same year. Of course, that's a TV movie. Sender. Yeah. I mean, not a whole lot of genre stuff, but what was she known for after this? Was it I'll Fly Away? Maybe 38 episodes of I'll Fly Away. That must have been it. 21 episodes of The Bronx Zoo. So she had some, and MacGruber and Loud. She was in 14 episodes. So she must have had some. She was in Raw Deal. You guys remember that Schwarzenegger film? Yeah. 86. So, because I remember her.
Oh,
yeah, me too. Yeah.
The Larry Sanders Show.
Yes.
Yeah, she was the wife, I think, wasn't she?
Yeah, 18 episodes of that. Yep.
I think I remember her from, she did a couple episodes of Rockford Files, but she was in the Steve McQueen movie, The Hunter.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
It was about Ralph Papa Thorson.
That was his last film, wasn't it?
Close. I can't remember, but that seems right.
That's 1980 for him. But I do remember that film.
It is his last film, and the one right before that was Tom Horn. That's the other one.
So I thought she was great. I don't know anything about The Sender, although I feel like maybe I do because that poster looks familiar. Isn't that weird?
Well, no. If you saw it time after time after time strolling through a video store, but never picked it up.
The tagline for that movie, Chad, is he has the power to make you live his nightmares, and he's dreaming about you. That's good.
Like sweet fella.
And it's a Roger Christian film. I don't know anything about it, but I may have seen it, but I don't know. I don't remember. It didn't make an impression if I did. All right, let's move on to our. This is our bad guy. He's not just. I mean, it's not like an over top kind of bad guy.
Yeah.
I think we'll get to his equivalent here in a bit, and it's about right. But he's effective, and he also what I liked about his character is there was, even though they were adversary, right, and they had conflict, there was a respect between the two. I felt. Am I alone in that?
Yeah, no, I got that.
He kind of it got me a little bit because at the beginning when they first meet, they go to that place where the animals are dead, and the helicopters come in, and Mancuso's character doesn't want Duran says what are you doing with him, and Walker Chi is Stephen mocked. He walks up and he starts out saying, well, why can't we just work together? We both want the same thing. And he seems like a really nice guy, but by the end he's basically telling them to F off. And
well, they're from two different tribes, I believe.
Right.
Well, and philosophies, the Walker Chi character wants to bring progress and money into the reservation, and he wants to preserve. Duran wants to preserve.
Well, I mean, Duran was brought up by his uncle with the old ways of doing things, and he respects that. He has a respect for that, and the new guys just want some money.
Want some money. Greed, which drives a lot of things, which is a great motivation. That's a great motivation for a character. Most people will probably recognize him from the Monster Squad as well. Sean's dad. Yeah. Brief, small role, but many people love that film, right?
And you see it from his point of view too. He doesn't see himself as a villain. Here's these poor people living in a place that looks like the only thing you could grow is sand.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of money in sand. There's no way out of this generational poverty. And here they just found liquid gold, and everyone could be rich. The only thing standing in the way is a bunch of, folks wedded to the old ways. And he's clearly not like that. He flies in a helicopter. From his point of view, he's trying to get rid of all these things that they're complaining about. Oh, we only have one doctor. We only have one cop. We have nothing. We grow sand. Here's the solution. And then there's people standing in his way.
Yeah. Yeah. What I found interesting. Yeah. What I found interesting is like the oil guy, the guy that actually had the oil company that was trying to weasel in. He thought the guy could be bought. He said, now if the elders are out of the way, he could be bought, which I found interesting as a comment. Yeah. But he was in other films as well, horror films, Transfer 3, Amityville, 1992, It's About Time, Graveyard Shift. Graveyard Shift is probably one people will remember him from, which is a rat film, right? Isn't that a big rat?
Yeah.
Which
Stephen King's story originally.
Incredibly cheesy, but fun.
It is, but I love that movie.
Oh my God, it's so he's horror fans will recognize his face, I think. But moving on, this here. Well, I'll just turn this over to Jeff Strother Martin.
Oh, well, after our last episode, what was it that he was in? I thought we mentioned him. We talked about him for some reason, and
Up in Smoke.
I don't know, but I was going to dig.
He was in one of the Cheech and Chong movies.
I went digging for once again, still no streaming. Without paying for it, and may not be any streaming. I can't remember, but yeah, we got to do that. And then we did.
What's it?
What's the other movie?
He was Mr. Stoner in Up in Smoke.
Was that he? Was it Up in Smoke or Night?
He was Up in Smoke.
It was Up in Smoke. Yeah.
Yes.
And he was Chong's dad or something like that.
Well, we did it. We did him in another 70s show where he was like the lead, cult leader.
Brotherhood of Satan.
Yes, Brotherhood of Satan.
Brotherhood of Satan.
That's what I was trying to think
of. But of course, most people remember him from what film? Cool Hand Luke.
Cool Hand Luke. Yeah,
I would pick Cool Hand Luke and Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid.
Right.
See, I would still say, but that's just me.
But that's you. Cool Hand Luke is, what we've got here is failure to communicate.
I think he has a little bit bigger part in that. So that's where we first see him. Oh, he was in what was the one we did? Creature from Black Lake? Or no, that was Dub Taylor. I'm sorry.
Dub Taylor.
I get my crotchety old guy character actors mixed up. But no, Strother Martin's awesome. And I loved him in Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid, where he's the guy that hires them to be the guards for the silver mine payroll.
Oh, he's in the Wild Bunch too.
I can't even imagine all the stuff he's in.
Steady diet of chewing up scenery.
Oh my God.
176 credits.
Rooster Cogburn, he's in that.
This is close to the end of his career. Did he pass away shortly after this?
He passed away in 1980. So yes.
Oh, okay.
It would be very much close to his career. He would still make 4 more films, including The Villain. Does anybody here remember The Villain?
Yes. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Kirk Douglas.
Yeah. The walking, talking Roadrunner cartoon.
When you say Kirk Douglas, you have to push your forefinger into your chin
and talk like this.
He was Parody Jones,
Up
whatever
in
that is.
God,
I forgot he was in Up in Smoke. Oh, we should just do Up in Smoke just for the sanity of it. Oh my gosh, maybe that's what we need to do on our Patreon. It's just Up in Smoke.
Let's do it. I love that movie.
We have to sing the song though.
Which one?
The one at the end that they
Rock
sing about
song.
the what is it? Mama's in the fridge or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then you have to wear pink leotards and a tutu.
With a tutu, absolutely. And what else do you? Oh my gosh, it's just great. I love
That's it. God, he was in the Wild Bunch, True Grit. He just was in a ton of stuff in the 60s. Lots of TV shows. The Flim Flam Man. Anyway, it's awesome. One of those. Yeah, I need to look because this is one of those guys where it makes you wonder, what did he first? Well, that's crazy. He was a springboard diver in The Damned Don't Cry in 1950.
Of course he was. Of course he was.
And then The Asphalt Jungle. Yeah.
His sweat game is on point, though. I'll tell you that.
Oh my God! Yeah. He was spry though. He still climbed up that mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in that other scene. But
there, you see how the dirt's not even moved or anything. He's risen. He's risen.
He's risen.
I can tell because of the whiskey I'm drinking.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! But it's just the voice. I just love the voice.
Yeah.
And of course, well, the famous lines. But anyway, back to our next person. We have it as Charles Halloran.
Charles Halloran, yeah.
It's Hallahan, isn't it?
Halhan. You got is that an I in there or just Hallhan? Let's see. Yeah, it's Hallahan. Our card has an A missing. But it's Charles Hallahan.
Me typing really fast before we started.
And of course, I think most horror fans remember him from the scene in the center there, from The Thing. Mm-hmm. He's the guy whose stomach opens up and his head comes off. I had to put that
Morris. They had to put that in there for Chad. And he's almost not in this. I don't even. Does he have any?
He was the one screaming, "There's bats in my hair!" No. I don't know.
Oh well, he was drinking something there around the fireplace with the other Quakers. God, there was those little. The one guy that looked like who's the guy that was in Coach Bill? Was it Fagerback?
Fagerback.
Yeah, didn't it look like that must have been his dad or something?
Oh yeah.
And then he starts giving Strother Martin crap about, you came out here as a Quaker missionary. How come you're not doing your missionary work? And Strother Martin explains it to him pretty basically.
He sure does. It's so much fun. And that character, you could have written Strother Martin's character out, and it wouldn't change the film. But it's so much better with him.
Yeah.
So much better with him.
Well, they had to get Catherine Harold out in the middle of the desert.
Oh, not this guy's character. I mean, Strother Martin's character is
right. But then anyway.
Yes.
So the bottom picture is from the Twilight Zone, the movie, the episode with Vic Morrow, and it was called.
Oh, he's one of the guys.
He's one of his buddies. Yeah, that he's drinking with. We couldn't find one with him and Morrow, but.
Well, he was on.
And he was in what was the TV show?
Hunter.
With
he was on Hunter. 110 episodes. Charles Devane. And you Cast a Deadly Spell. Not a good movie.
Oh, it's kind of fun. If you're in the right mood.
Yeah, any movie does. Yeah. But a recognizable face. And his co-campers. There's one guy that I'm trying to remember what his name is. Let's see. It's not that one. Not that one. Let's see. I'm sorry to delay everything. It's Donald Houghton, who's the blonde, gray-haired guy.
Right.
Now, before we do that, one thing is interesting is this guy. So they escape the bats by driving away in the camper, and the camper, of course, flips over when the bat comes out of the guy's shirt. But we don't know how he died. I mean, obviously he died in the car wreck, but we are never shown him dying, are we?
Yeah. No,
Right?
I don't think we did see that.
Because he once that wreck happens, we don't see him again.
And the way these idiots were pushing each other out of the way to get back in the camper when the bats attacked was just ridiculous.
But hilarious.
I can't get the door
she kept
open.
trying to open the door for him, and they kept pushing on it. And,
But the co-camper, the one that was driving, the one that had the bat come out of his shirt, I remember him from a film called The Hearse. He played the Reverend. He played the Reverend in that, which is kind of shows that most of these people were cast out of Canada because he's a Canadian actor.
And the other one is the other woman that was with him, right? I can't.
The one that got ran over.
No, the one that burned up.
The one that fell in the fire. That was a girl.
Yeah. She starts screaming and running around in circles and falls over on the fire.
I know. It was great.
So many dumb ways to die.
Well, what's even better is when David Warner finds him. He's recording in this pre-Walkman thing that's like the size of a, I don't know, like a
I gotta
lunchbox.
go watch. I gotta go watch Up in Smoke again. This guy was in Up in Smoke. He was the bailiff.
Oh, well, do you need an excuse to watch Up in Smoke?
No, I don't.
Oh my gosh.
It's just
all right, let's before we get to the bats, let's talk about the formula because I guess you made this, Jeff.
Yeah.
You did this, right?
No,
Bill did this. Bill
did almost all of these. I mean,
great job, Bill. Because
so we got our hero. He's fish out of water kind of thing, and every man, the guy we identify with. Now, what I thought was cool was that in this movie they took both the Richard Dreyfuss and the Robert Shaw character and kind of mished them together. So he's the expert on bats, just like Richard Dreyfuss was the expert in sharks. But he's also kind of crazy and has a grudge against the thing.
And he's a killer of bats, right?
He's a killer of bats. Yeah. So, and I kept waiting for the story that would explain it all. Yeah, there I was on a camping expedition, and 20 men went in that cave, and only I came out because the rest of the
slowly I turned.
He kind of gives us that. He gives us a small version of that one, but he's just talking about why he hates bats.
They smell like ammonia. It's like, oh wow, that's
they're evil.
Well, that was something about drinking too much blood, and the leftover blood is secreted in their urine and it makes it smell.
That's
like
one to grow on. Yeah.
Is that real science? Or?
That's any bat.
Okay.
Well, it is true if you go into a bat cave. Don't watch where you're walking because
that's guano, right? And is that not their poop, or is that
guano's just poop and whatever else they drop out?
Like most flying things, they just poop uncontrollably, and then we got the bad guy. Yeah, we got the bad guy, who's in this case he's just trying to get some oil out of the ground, and he does dress better than the mayor.
Does he? I mean, could he have a jacket that was, I guess, like cactus on it or something? I don't know. But
he could have a better haircut, but
he could. But this is great because I really never considered it like this, but it actually is this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They don't want to wear
it's just that
ruin the tourist.
Yeah. It's just that wifey Lorraine has a bigger role in this movie. He doesn't get left ashore when they go out to sea. She comes along. All right, let's take a look. Do we have some cool shots? Let's do the cool shots. Are they? Yes. No bats. Well, I want to do the bats last. So that is a shallow grave.
Yeah.
Very shallow. When the head sticks out, it's pretty shallow.
It might be too shallow.
The coyotes are going to make short work of that job there. That's half-assing it.
But that was a nice touch when it started bleeding out of it. Now, help me out here because this is one of those things where I kind of go, they play this suspenseful, music, and the blood is coming oozing out of the thing and everything, and then it's never mentioned again.
What
the hell was the?
They do mention it briefly.
Oh, really?
They mention it briefly when he's talking to the elders. When he's talking to the elders, he does mention that that he bled.
And he said the elder said something to the effect of he was into a lot of evil magic, bad magic.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
They did mention it then because so it's basically some kind of superstition about bleeding through the fabric. And then he burns everything down, and I wondered about that. But when the elders ask him about it, and he says, "I burned it," what did you do? Where is this picture that he drew? I burned it all, and he goes, "Well, you did everything right."
The only thing you did wrong was cut 2 eye holes into the hood of the wrapping because he didn't need to see what you were doing. That is
a little strange, yeah.
Of course, are not the elders that we talk to, but the ones that we find in the cave, dig them up, and of course they get the bubonic plague from it. So that's hilarious.
Yeah, we don't hear too much. They're not too worried about it. So there is stuff that bothered me. Like, it was actually kind of funny when they're in that cage, right? They built a wire cage. And then
the cage scene.
I know David Warner says, and then you flip the switch. Flip, she goes.
And he goes, when I tell you to. And then when he does, the little clips have already come off.
Well, you see all those bats coming. I thought it looked like the bats were chewing through the wires, but they were chewing through the cord that was tying the
they were connecting the wires together,
the chicken wire together. But that there was a couple of scenes with her that are the kind of scenes that drive me nuts, where they're yelling at her to do something and she doesn't. Somebody's yelling, flip the switch, flip the switch, flip the switch. And I'm like, it's not hooked up. What good is that going to do? So she already flipped the switch. I don't know. There was another scene where he's trying to get her to leave him alone and let him do his thing. I think it might have been in the cave, and she just keeps after him. And I don't know, stuff like that kind of gets.
He's like, we gotta go. It's getting dark.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Like, what are you doing?
Well, he was high. He had a.
That's true.
He wasn't like, who are you talking to?
He was.
She probably had 3 heads to him when he looked over at her. She's talking to him.
Oh my gosh! All right, so let's talk about the bats and wrap this up. The bat at the top from a still shot is very effective.
Yeah.
And I do love the middle shot with the bats because I love how the camera is on a dolly, obviously, right, Bill? Mm-hmm. But it's coming toward their little cage. It just was really effective to me.
Bats flying in formation, though. Come on.
Yeah. And they were just like, right? Their bats were out. They weren't really flapping much, really.
We have to, like Bill said something early on that I was thinking, he's like, just a coincidence that he did this? No, he did this spell, and that brought all these bats. He's been working on this for a while, and it's all getting ready to break loose. And then he breaks a circle, and that's what sets everything loose.
All right.
That's it's supernatural, right?
Well, or he knew about the bats, and he's just playing.
What's his name? Duran had to, choke down a bunch of hallucinogens in order to save him.
I mean, doesn't the beginning with him standing, because of Abner's, it starts off with Abner standing on that very same rock formation, right? That we end up at.
Right.
So he's there, and we established at the beginning. We just don't know it. We don't know who that is at the point, but he knew. He knew. But the fire is cool, but the burning bats,
ridiculous.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work, but
I think it's great.
Well, I said earlier that it's cheesy, but it's and fun, but it
how to make bats look like fireflies.
May not
they look like real bats, and they're all flying around like not in formation. That would look even stupider if they were flying.
It just looked like when my dad was burning leaves, and I kicked the pile and
in the air, and they little leaf ashes would go up. Yep. Perfect.
Little Bill tries to start a wildfire in the neighborhood.
But there was something about how they were flying when they were flying toward that cage that I dug that a lot. I don't know. When I first watched it, wow, that's cool.
Well, they come out of the dark, right? Don't they come out of the dark? Yeah. I mean, there's the little kid in me loved that scene.
I mean, we used to take little pieces of bread when bats are flying around. You throw the bread up in the air and watch the bats catch the bread
or chase it as it falls. Yeah,
and we used to do stuff like that all the time.
Huh.
But
I remember we had an outdoor. Our washer and dryer was actually outside in a closet, in an outdoor closet for whatever reason when we were growing up. And I went out there one time to go do something, and I opened up the door, and basically a fruit bat came flying out at me, scared the piss out of me. The absolute piss.
Well, I don't know what kind they were, but the bats that I've seen around, at a particular place, you can't hardly even watch them fly. They're so fast and change direction so fast. And
keeping track of them. Yeah.
And they're so quiet.
But the thing is that they're out there. They're always out there. You just never really see them. They're everywhere.
I used to sleep with my window open at night when I was a kid.
Did you ever have a bat come in?
I woke up in the morning, and as I rolled over, my bed was against the wall, and there he sat, little tiny little bat like that. And he's like, "Good morning,"
and you go bloop,
and I was like,
yeah, you bailed there fast.
Yeah, Chad's guano hits the floor.
Yeah. Guanoed my pants.
All right. Well, we've had a great time with this. We've gone way over talking about this. We need to spare some time for our feedback. So let's we'll wrap it up here. Please leave us some comments about what you thought about this movie and the cast as well. As you know, we had a great deal of fun with the cast in this. Did you see this in 1979? There's a few of you out there that have. Or did you see it like Chad on HBO over and over again? Yeah, I want to hear all that. And I would you recommend this to somebody? I kind of would.
Yeah.
But it with some caveats of expectation. But at the same time, it's a fun film.
I would offer no caveats.
No, well, good grief. Go for it.
You go watch it. You go watch it, and you either like it or you don't. That's the name of that thing.
All right. Well, let's move along to our feedback. Jeff, we have feedback, sir. Do we not?
We do. We have 3, which is just the right number. So first off,
nice.
Let's see. Who picked that one? Chad.
Snow Beast?
Yeah. We have a comment from Robert Baker on Snow Beast.
And Robert says, the Beast movie without much of a beast. I actually have fun with this movie. Is it bad? Most certainly.
Slightly.
It's so bad that a friend of mine years ago was taking a film class, and the instructor showed this as an example to the students of all the things to avoid doing.
Really? Oh my God, that's awesome.
My personal favorite moment of the entire movie is when during the stampede at the festival, Sylvia Sidney is on the floor yelling, "The crown! The crown!" And as the crown goes flying across the floor to be trampled to pieces while everyone is running to escape the fearsome beast. Yeah, that was...
Dare I watch that again just to see that?
Now
that
was
hilarious. The dollar store crown out there. It looked like it's made of tinfoil.
Got it from Burger King.
Yeah. When I heard you bring up the ads in newspapers for movies back in the day, it did remind me that one of the writers of Fangoria released a book featuring a lot of those old ads.
Oh, nice.
He used to cut them out and collect them and still had them. The book is called Ad Nauseum and is filled with horror movie ads from the 70s and 80s. Oh, very cool.
I'll have to look that up. Yeah. I feel justified I wasn't alone in doing that.
Oh, I did it too.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't. We all had our own things to do, Anyway. All right. We actually have, when I posted the schedule for the month of August, a couple of people comment about Nightwings.
Oh, wow.
In particular. Wow. So let's see. Well, we got to have Bill do the one from Jerry Chandler.
All righty. Jerry Chandler, who, when he loves something, you know it. Yes, Nightwing. I love that on Blue with Shadow of the Hawk as the double feature on it. You picked the right movie to watch. Well, I'm glad we all liked it, because otherwise we'd get another much longer, angrier letter from
we did indeed. We
Shadow of the Hawk, yes.
Mm.
That I said Spirit, I think, but Shadow of the Hawk. Yep, you picked the right movie. All right, and then thanks, Jerry. We have one. Oh, and you have to when he says yes, Nightwing. There's 4 exclamation points after
on each of them, each
that.
word.
And then we have one from Scott Wells.
Scott says Nightwing! 1 exclamation mark. Love that film too much. Oh wow! Just watched it the other day for about the 50th time. Love a good Bat movie.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
There you go. And since we didn't have very much feedback, I know we're going long, but I'm going to tell my story about my mom taking me to the movies.
Okay, please.
She took me to the movies downtown in a town called Cedar Falls, me and a couple friends, and it was Darby O'Gill and it is. Darby O'Gill. Yeah, she didn't drive us out of state to go to the movies, but anyway, Darby O'Gill and the Little People was playing. She dropped us off and left, and it was a big long line. Right when we got up to pay for our tickets, they were like, "Oh, we're sold out." Yeah.
Oh no.
So we started walking home, pre-cell phones and all that stuff, and it was about, I think it was about 1.5 miles, but there was lots of playgrounds and shit on the way. So it took us like 2 hours to get home, and my mom was just getting ready to leave to come pick us up. What are you guys doing here? Oh, the movie was sold out. Well, get in the car. And she took us back down there again. It's like, I want the whole afternoon without you guys.
That was what we did. They did to us as kids. Get up from the house. We don't want to see you until dinner time.
Darby O'Gill and the Little People. What? Wow. Sean Connery, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for the feedback. And we love it when you guys give us feedback. So please send us feedback. You can make comments on the Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel or on the Gruesome Magazine H&R and DOH podcast Facebook group. Or you can send emails directly to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
We love them. So thanks, Robert, Jerry, and Scott. We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Yep. And don't forget that if you head over to Patreon, we are doing all 20 episodes of Kolchak the Night Stalker, and we are about 9 episodes in, and they're still there waiting for you to watch if you sign up now. So go check them out. And we have our next film has been chosen. Jeff, this is one I've heard you mention for quite some time. What film are we covering?
It's a movie called Craze from 1974. And I picked it one time quite a while ago, but the copy that was on Amazon Prime at the time was so bad, I just couldn't ask anybody to watch it. So we switched, and I really don't think it's a very good movie. I didn't check the rating here yet, but the cast, I mean, it's directed by Freddie Francis.
Nice.
The man that brought us Mumsy, Nanny, Sonny, and Girl.
I'm out.
Girly. Herman Cohen is and Aben Kandel were the co-writers of the screenplay, which we have done several of those in the classic era. Stars Jack Palance, Diana Dors, Julie.
Wow.
How is that pronounced? Julie Edge?
I've heard Edge.
EGE.
It might be Edge.
Dame Edith Evans, Hugh Griffith, which y'all will recognize if you don't see his name, if you don't recognize it from his name. So anyway, I found it on Tubi, and it looks rather like a good. Does
it look good?
Good resolution.
Oh, nice.
If it doesn't drop off before we get there.
It's got to stick on through August. All right.
A nutty antique dealer starts to sacrifice women to an African idol.
Well,
what could go wrong?
Was this in Florida?
What? Is there a reference there that I missed?
I remember some dark witch-like ceremonies in the basement that really were kind of not well done, but it was a really bad copy, so we'll see.
We'll see. Maybe a good copy will make it all the difference.
Yeah, but I just
We'll see.
I just want to get it out of the way.
I hear you.
Jeff's
I hear you.
ADHD
I hear
is
you.
killing him about it.
I know. So we mentioned it. Now we got to do it.
Jack Palance and Freddie Francis. How bad of a movie can it be?
Oh, we'll see.
The answer is 2 weeks coming. All right. Please join us for that one as well. Bill, Chad, Jeff, of course. Thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Y'all.
All right. Let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night,
Good night.
everybody.
Gruesome Magazine.